Kindie Rockstars. Prepare for a treat, let's meet and greet some bands and singers that are super sweet, making music that's fun for boys and girls. Help them learn about this great big world. Fun for the family, yes it's true, your kids will love it and you will too. Clap and dance and sing aloud, become a part of the Kindie crowd. These songs will make you move your feet and give your ears a great big treat. So settle in, grab your guitars, and let's get to know our Kindie rock stars. Hello everyone, and welcome to Kindie Rockstars. This is the show that gives you the stories behind the songs from some of the best bands and singers that are making fun, informative, educational, catchy, and occasionally silly songs for children and families. I'm your host, Patrick Adams, and each episode of Kindie Rockstars will feature an artist and a featured song. So let's get to this week's show. I am here today with Stormin Bob Swanson, the Singing Weatherman. I love everything about that name, Bob. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into Kindie music.
Okay, well, thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me. Stormin Bob Swanson, the Singing Weatherman, comes from the fact that I, at one time in my life, was a weatherman. I spent a decade of my professional life as a meteorologist. 6 of those years were as a TV weatherman. And part of the gig when you're a TV weatherman is to go out and speak to schools. Quite often, the second grade class will get to a unit on weather, and the teacher will call the station looking for a meteorologist. And so when I first started working in television weather, that was just part of the gig. And the first group that I was assigned to go speak to were 3 and 4 year olds in Rogers, Arkansas, preschool group. And I had been a high school teacher even before getting into weather, but I had never dealt with 3 and 4 year olds, and I had nothing when I showed up at that classroom, apart from an old cloud poster from my old classroom. And within 5 minutes, they were done with me, I was done with them, and I thought, wow, if I'm going to survive doing this, I need to somehow spice up my act. And chastened by the experience, I went back to my apartment and picked up my guitar, and I'd never really tried to write songs before. I'd been playing guitar for a few years, but I thought, let me just try to write a weather song. And I wrote a song called the Weather Riddle Song. And I also wrote another one called the Weather Wiggle. And I tried them out with some friends and got some encouragement. And I started to actually play them at some of these presentations. And before I knew it, the teachers and the librarians, they were calling the TV station, not just for any of the meteorologists. They were asking for the guy with the guitar. They may not have known me by name at that point, but at that point, there was something going on there, and that just kind of encouraged me to continue to write more songs and add more instruments to my arsenal. And so I kind of feature myself as a one-man band. I don't play everything at the same time, but I started on guitar, had a little bit of harmonica, but then I started to, as I got more into children's music, and I realized how interesting the whole Kindie world was, I started to add instruments. So I started to learn how to play the banjo. Then I learned how to play the mandolin. And I've even more recently added the piano accordion to my arsenal, because I'm not Eddie Van Halen. I'm not going to be proficient at any particular one, but it adds some variety to my sound. And I almost think of it as a musical education on top of the science education. When I go out to a school and I can bring multiple instruments, how many kids in Mississippi have ever seen, much less heard, a piano accordion? And then I can explain the science behind why it works the way it works. So I add a little bit of musical education on top of the science education.
I love the fact that first initial meeting just kind of launched you into this. And how much performing have you done recently? And how did you kind of weather the pandemic?
Oh yeah, the pandemic's been challenging. In fact, I am currently COVID quarantined. I tested positive last Sunday, so I've been in isolation in my bedroom for the most part for the past week. And it forced me to cancel a gig that I was supposed to play yesterday. So the pandemic has been a challenge. Children's music is not my full-time job. Yeah, I'm an instructor at Mississippi State University during the school year. So mainly it's the summers that I get pretty active, and I tour around the state. My high watermark, I suppose, was probably the summer of 2019 when I finally had advertised myself pretty well. And I think I played 33 shows during the summer of 2019. Since then, of course, with COVID, there's been fewer live shows and more in the way of virtual shows. And, I've adapted, but obviously most performers are going to prefer the live experience compared to trying to do virtual programming. But I'm looking forward to hopefully,
next summer things opening up and getting back out there. And, for me, it winds up being kind of a family project. I've got three boys. They're not small anymore, but they're part of the show. My wife helped me do some of the merchandise. And so it's really been great. You said, this was never planned, of course. I just kind of fell into this, and you just kind of follow where it leads. And, but now I get the pleasure of playing music to a certain extent professionally, but also not having to play in a smoky old bar at 2 a.m. to an audience that's not listening to me. My audiences are really engaged, and they're hanging on every word. My family is part of the whole program. So there's a lot of pluses to the Kindie lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. Are all of your songs weather themed, or do you generalize the themes?
Because I started out in weather, I wrote a whole album worth of weather songs. It's called the album's called "Do the Weather Wiggle" with Stormin Bob Swanson. And but for the last decade, especially since I moved to Mississippi, I've been teaching astronomy, and so I've actually started to write a whole series of astronomy songs for my astronomy students. I've taught at the community college level and now at the university level, and I still play these songs for my students as well. So I've expanded a little bit as far as the songwriting goes. I've written a few just non-sciencey sort of novelty songs as well. I tend to, that's just where my songwriting comfort zone is more in the way of novelty songwriting. So I've written a couple song or two, about, I guess, animals and that sort of thing. But yeah.
All right, excellent. All right, well, let's get into a song.
Cool.
The song today is "Whale of a Tale" by Stormin Bob Swanson. All right, tell me a little bit about this song and what or who inspired it.
Well, Patrick, the Whale of a Tale was just, I guess, as a children's musician, we're always looking for inspiration. And like I said, I'm not that particularly proficient at any particular instrument. And so I like to play a lot of different types of instruments. I also like to try to write different genres of music. And so on my CD, "Do the Weather Wiggle" with Stormin Bob Swanson, there's some folk music on there. There's some bluegrass. There's also a rap song that I've got about latitude and longitude called "I've Got an Attitude About My Latitude." And so there's the Weather Safety Polka on that CD as well. So I try to cover a lot of genres. And in looking at my repertoire, I thought, what is an underserved genre? Sea shanties. We all need sea shanties in our lives, and yet I didn't have one. And so I just kind of thought of the idea of "Whale of a Tale," and I thought, well, and it turns out that this was years ago that I wrote the song, but sea shanties did make a very brief, as far as I remember, resurgence in the TikTok world. I believe earlier this year, in the midst of the pandemic, there was the great 2021 sea shanty rage that went on. So I thought that was fairly well timed, and I actually, even though I had written the song years before, I had never made a video for it. And so that became a pandemic project for myself and my oldest son. My oldest son is a very talented visual artist. And so having nothing else to do in the pandemic and looking for projects to keep his creative juices flowing during virtual schooling, I decided to make a video. And so I asked him if he would make a few sketches of the characters in "Whale of a Tale. And we kind of cropped them out and worked together to make a little stop action sort of video for "Whale of a Tale."
Very good. And so "Whale of a Tale," this is describing, I know after listening to the song, I think the first verse was about a dog who had a huge tail.
Right. That's right. Yes, it's a little dog with a large tail. I mean, it's huge. It's enormous.
get very I like to exaggerate it, but yeah. And then it's a matter of, what would you do if you had a little dog with a huge tail that was almost an embarrassment?
And going back to the sea shanty piece, as soon as you mentioned TikTok, there's this one sea shanty that I think they're taking like past presidents or Star Trek characters or whatever, and they're like making them sing the song. Those videos crack me up. So, all right. Well, let's listen to the song. This is Whale of a Tale by Stormin Bob Swanson.
This is a song about my dog. It's a little dog with a very large tail. I mean, it's huge. It's enormous. You might even say it's a whale of a tail. It's a whale of a tale, and I tell you it's true, but it's not about me and it's not about you. It all has to do with my puppy named Blue. My dog has a whale of a tail. When I first got my pup down at the puppy place, he had small puppy paws and a small puppy face, and a very large tail that I just couldn't place. You could say it was way out of scale. So I took him straight home and I gave him a bath. I just had to chuckle, I just had to laugh, because I could only submerge his front half. My dog has a whale of a tail. It's a whale of a tail, and I tell you it's true, but it's not about me and it's not about you. It all has to do with my puppy named Blue. My dog has a whale of a tail. I thought it would be smart, I thought it might be wise to fatten him up and proportionalize. So I fed him a diet of burgers and fries and milkshakes and chips by the pail. But despite all the cakes and the cookies and pies, all that matter just failed to materialize. His body's the same, but his tail's twice the size. My dog has a whale of a tail. It's a whale of a tale, and I tell you it's true, but it's not about me and it's not about you. It all has to do with my puppy named Blue. My dog has a whale of a tail. Now when I take old Blue out for a walk, the neighbors all snicker, the neighbors all talk. You could say I'm the laughing stock of the block. I'm ashamed to go out for the mail. If your dog has a whale of a tail, then it's true. There is very little else you can do than to give him a name like Killer or Beluga or Humpback or Blue. My dog has a whale of a tail. It's a whale of a tale, and I tell you it's true, but it's not about me and it's not about you. It all has to do with my puppy named Blue. My dog has a whale of a tail.
That was Whale of a Tale by Stormin Bob Swanson, the Singing Weatherman. All right, Bob, where can people find that song and where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, check me out at storminswanson.com. In fact, if you go to that website, there is a link to video content, and that's where Whale of a Tale lives. Whale of a Tale is a video, and I've got a whole series of weather music videos and astronomy music videos that you can check out. But that Whale of a Tale is one of them, so enjoy.
Excellent. All right. Yes, please be sure to check out his website and find that video. Bob, thank you so much for being on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick.
All right. Take care.